Yes!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of The Completionist. We have two quick announcements just for you guys. First up, this episode is brought to you in part by Blue Apron. Blue Apron, of course, is the online service in which you get freshly packaged vegetables and meats and all kinds of cooking stuff sent to your home so you can prepare chef-like designs for you to eat for you and your family. Every single meal is fresh, packaged, and you can go ahead and make it at home. It has a scorecard to tell you to do everything in order, and later on in the video, we'll give you more details on how to get involved with that. If you are interested in Blue Apron, there is a link in the description below. The first 50 users get their first 3 meals for free, and they'll ship almost anywhere in the country. Thank you, Blue Apron, for making this episode happen. We really appreciate you. The second announcement is that I'm giving away a Nintendo Switch with The Legend of Zelda and a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. If you want to be a part of that competition, it is so simple. Click the Gleamio link in the description below and make sure you subscribe to all the channels across the socials, follow those across the board. And the more that you do those subscriptions and follows, the more chances you have in winning a Nintendo Switch. And we're going to be announcing the winner on April 8th. So be sure to subscribe and follow across the board before then. And yes, we will ship internationally. That's a big thing. This is a Nintendo Switch that is free from region lock, so we're going to be shipping internationally. Everyone is eligible to win this Nintendo Switch. The Uncharted franchise has become one of my favorite current gen games that I've been playing for a long while. If you've been paying attention to our upload schedule, you have noticed that we did Uncharted 2 around the same time last year, and Uncharted 1 around the same time last year, 2 years ago. So naturally, in the progression of how I'm playing games here on the show, we're going in order, step by step, day by day. That's a great song that I'm sure some of you don't know. Either way, here is my review of Uncharted 3. I know this is going to probably start some kind of crazy and super important to some internet war, but screw it. I'm not scared of any of you anymore. I'll say it anyway. At this point in time, Naughty Dog are basically a perfect game developer. Everyone loves their games. They win awards. They practically print money. And despite how much other AAA BS comes out year after year that we totally forget about after 6 months, their games and characters are still entering the pop culture zeitgeist on a level to match peeps like Mario, Sonic, Lara Croft, and Master Chief. I know it's real and I said it, but I am ready to accept the consequences because perfect doesn't necessarily mean interesting. And when I'm completing a game from start to finish, beating it multiple times, and getting every achievement and collectible in between, that's the kind of thing that's really important to me. I love Pirates of the Caribbean, right? So let's talk about Captain Barbossa. This is a dude like me whose actions in the past have committed him to a never-ending life on the high seas. But unlike him, who messed with enchanted treasure and totally just got cursed, it's up to the game, not me, if I ever get bored. Look, I'm not gonna cry over not being able to taste apples anymore while I'm spending 1 million hours platinuming Resident Evil 7 and all of its DLC because the replay value is high, the mechanics are interesting, and the game is still immersive, fun, and engaging. But what about Uncharted 3? It was in development for over 2 years, and it is one of the best reviewed games of 2011. But when you look at the things the developers were saying about it at the time, it seems like their main reasons for making another sequel could just be better graphics and a more profitable version of the multiplayer, which thankfully was removed from the version I played on PS4 because multiplayer achievements make me want to bite my own fingers off. And that's just not good enough for me, yo. I gotta play this for like 50 hours, you know what I mean? For me to recommend it to you guys, I gotta actually have fun while I play it. So that aside, I'm also not crazy, okay? I absolutely loved the first 2 Uncharted games, and don't let anyone tell you any different. If I was just playing them once for fun and not completing them, I wouldn't even have anything deal-breaking to say about them, but completing them hasn't been super tight. So I rated both of them finish it to reflect that. Great to play, not worth completing. So then what? Well, I guess the question remains, is Uncharted finally gonna be truly enjoyable all the way through? Or is another one of my friends gonna have to get shot and killed so I can try my luck next time with Uncharted 4? Well, let's take a look at what we've got in store. The trophies here are pretty similar to the ones we've seen for the past 2 games, and there's nothing extra to do besides what's on the achievement list, so everything I'm afraid of is essentially the same as last time. The continuous speed run mode is back, Doughnut Drake is back, except this time, hashtag everyone is a donut. There's a bunch of collectible treasures and combat challenges. And scariest of all, brutal difficulty is back to help me simulate the feeling of punching a brick wall, and then that same brick wall pulls out like 1,000 perfect accuracy golden guns and is pointing them right at my butt. Still, as tedious as previous games have been, none of them have ranked anywhere near the hardest stuff I've done here on the show. And the graphics will probably be awesome, so I'm sure I'll be fine in the end. Let's get started. The plot of Uncharted 3 revolves around a ring Drake first discovered over 20 years ago when he was just 14. It belonged to his famous ancestor, Sir Francis Drake. He was chasing it when he first met Sully. It's the key to the whole adventure that happens in this game. And at the beginning, they're meeting a guy named Talbot, who's super interested in buying the ring. Also, side note, I know his name is actually Nathan Drake, but Drake is a much funnier name to say a bunch of times than Nathan. And also, it made this awful Photoshop of Nathan Drake and the rapper Drake I had Ted do possible, so tough cookies if you don't like it. I think it's pretty worth it. Also, if your name actually is Nathan, no roasties either. Nathan's a fine name, but less people are called Drake, and it's just a little bit cooler. Anyway, this dude Talbot is clearly evil, and the deal goes south real quick, like way south, like so damn south. Whoa, that is a very, very southern deal. But that's okay, because it turns out that this bald guy that's beating us up, he's on our side, and he hates that mean old British lady, whose name's Catherine Marlowe, by the way, just as much as Sully and Drake do. And Chloe's here again for a little bit. Yay, she's tight and pretty. Question of the day, who are you more into, Chloe or Elena? I don't know, that's a tough question for me. I like them both. I think they're both great characters. After a little bit of snooping, they find out that Sir Francis Drake himself took a trip to Arabia under secret orders from the Queen of England in the search for the lost city of Ubar, which apparently holds untold riches. The gang decides they want to find it before Marlowe does, and using the private diary of T.E. Lawrence, aka IRL Lawrence of Arabia, they set off like Tintin on another adventure. Actually, this is kind of a lot like Tintin, so that's probably a coincidence, right?
Well, actually, I think they call that a tribute.
Right, a tribute. Right. And speaking of creepily good CGI, let's at least acknowledge the absolutely technical majesty of this game, even if we're worried it took too much of the focus. I mean, holy crap, look at these set pieces, man. Honestly, they look so good on the PS4 Pro in 4K, it's hard to imagine that it came out almost 6 years ago. According to Naughty Dog, Uncharted 3 was insanely optimized to run on the PS3 cell processor, and used every last drop of the system's power to do things like sand, fire, smoke, water.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet! Captain Planet, he's our hero.
This game also improved on things that already looked amazing in Uncharted 2, like high-res textures, weather, and character animations. Drake has so many different things he can do with his different body parts, it almost felt like I was just watching a dude running and improvising his way across the terrain in real time. It was crazy. And speaking of characters, another thing about this game that scores big points with me is the cutscenes and the voice acting.
That's funny.
Apparently, all the motion capture and dialogue is recorded simultaneously, so that the interaction between characters and dialogue timing feels more natural like it would in a regular Hollywood film. It makes the characters more relatable, the witty dialogue absolutely hums right along, and this is honestly one of the only games there is where watching scenes play out is almost as fun as playing through the big action pieces, which in the case of Uncharted 3 are absolutely insane. The capsizing ship, the airplane, even the English pub brawl right at the beginning of the game look and sound incredible. It's like, look at that set piece, Jesus Christ. Wow, I can't believe I'm actually playing it and not just watching it sometimes. And yet the story itself is kind of frustrating. Now, it's good, don't get me wrong, and I would say it probably feels the most like an Indiana Jones adventure out of all of the ones I've played thus far, but it basically just retreads the exact same territory as 1 and 2 all over again, just with a different backdrop and different villains. There's still the slick bad guy, the thing they find out that the bad guy doesn't know, and then they race to solve the clues, and then someone you care about gets hurt, and then you save them, and then it ends with some super powered magic thing that actually might be real for a moment but isn't, and then Drake wins, and then he re-falls in love with Elena, who is also in this game, and then they kiss, whatever. What's funny, Brett?
Magic thing actually might be real?
Yeah, like every Uncharted game has this moment where it's like, this magic to lore thing might be real. It never is real. It's just practically not real every time. It's exactly what happens. And the point is, yes, technically, Uncharted 3 looks the best and has the best story told, but it's just the latest version of the same old software. It's like Windows 10, except instead of installing stuff when you don't want it to, it just has cool shoulder holsters and a dope scarf. A sequel should feel fresh and new, and not like an HD remake of the last one. I should have the ability to determine whether or not these characters are the same from the last game, and if they actually experience anything that makes them want to be better. Change and desire and growth in characters are so important for both games and films. And so far with Uncharted 3, the vibe that I get is same song and dance. And although we get more information about Nathan and Sully and their relationship, and even the fact that Elena got married to Drake since the last adventure, these points, while they are very good for the overall story, aren't enough to make it feel like a different game. The one thing this game does great though is that it forces Drake into emotional circumstances that he's never been in before. Unfortunately for me though, as good as this was the first time through, it does nothing to improve my subsequent completionist playthroughs. So enough of that now, because we gotta keep this train on moving. Uncharted 3 was a joy to play. It's got basically the same third-person run-and-gun action game control scheme as the other two games, but with a broader and more forgiving combat system and a generally more open-world vibe across the board. It's still much more linear than most AAA titles out there these days, and it doesn't have stuff like hunting challenges and crafting, but the environments feel large and natural in a way where you never feel artificially closed off. It's kind of like a midway between the way it was in The Last of Us and Uncharted 2. You still visit crumbling ruins, you still sneak through enemy fortresses, and much of what happens there still feels very familiar to previous games in the series. You're almost always either climbing around, solving puzzles, and casually chatting with your sidekicks, or mercenaries have caught up to you and now it's time to shoot them and maybe still get a nice quip or two in there. And the puzzles this time around were some of my favorite in the series, especially the one where you shine the light on the body parts in that big room. But the combat came with some pretty welcome improvements as well. Melee, for example, has opened up quite a bit in this game, and it looks just as natural fighting with Drake as it does running through all the different environments. And now you can engage multiple enemies at once and use things you see around you, like beer bottles and toilet bowls, as weapons. You can also do stealth kills from above, throw grenades back where they came from, and even pull the pin on grenades that are still attached to enemy belts. But in the end, it's still basically the same old Uncharted combat we've seen before. And while it's absolutely fine and total fun, it didn't exactly surprise me or blow me away, because quite honestly, it still just felt pretty samey. You still got your melee guys, your heavy guys, your gun guys, and your snipers, and taking them all out is still a fairly engaging challenge, but it's the exact same challenge from the last game. And to me, that's kind of a bummer. But again, that doesn't mean it's bad, it's just samey. The same old progression, treasure, and combat skill achievements are back again for this game as well. And even the extra challenges they added for the PS4 Nathan Drake Collection version were basically the exact same as the second one. The Doughnut Drake trophy is back, and so is the one for speedrun, but brutal mode, the thing I was probably most worried about, was actually a little bit easier this time around as it was in 2. And yeah, it got pretty goddamn ugly there for a while, but at least it was nothing crazy like the time in Uncharted 2 when I got stuck in that train segment. I kept dying and spawning over and over and over again. I still have nightmares about that moment. So something super weird and bizarre happened right in the middle of my Doughnut Drake speedrun challenge achievements, and let me tell you, it was not a good one. Out of nowhere, the game decided to remove all of my completion data from the game save. And at this point, I had already done my normal run, my crushing run, and my brutal run. Because of this glitch, it became impossible to finish my speedrun playthrough, and if it ended up being permanent, it would have effectively doubled the amount of time I'd have spent completing the game, meaning I'd have to redo my normal playthrough, my crushing, and my brutal, and that alone would piss me the off. Luckily, I am very smart, and I made backups all the goddamn time, both on the PSN cloud and on my console. So I wiped my data clean, re-downloaded my game saves, and even that did not fix it. So I thought, you know what, I am genuinely screwed, there's nothing I can do. But then I had the idea to load my brutal playthrough, because I made a game save right at the boss of the game on brutal mode. I figured if I beat the game on brutal mode again, it might unlock everything and I'll be as good as gravy. Luckily, my theory worked and it unlocked everything as it was for me to continue my playthrough. Now, why was this so important with my speedrun playthrough? In order to play as Doughnut Drake, I needed to have everything unlocked. So you can kind of see why I was really pissed off when suddenly I couldn't play as Doughnut Drake anymore. The worst part is, this issue is still around and tons of people are still affected by it. It was never patched. Other than that massive glitch that could have potentially ruined my life, this game wasn't that bad to finish. And in general, I'd say I enjoyed my time with it. This game did a very good job at creating a sense of urgency throughout all of it, and the moving set pieces really drove that home for me in my final playthroughs. But as I said before, immediately turning around after getting to the end and knocking out 3 more playthroughs can really dampen your enthusiasm as a whole for a game like this. And let's just take it for what it is. And dear God, thank the Lord that the Nathan Drake collection does not come with multiplayer achievements, because if I felt like this after doing a few measly playthroughs, 100 hours of the multiplayer, very rough.
Hey guys, remember that part in the beginning of the video when I said this video is brought to you in part by Blue Apron? Well, guess what? That part's happening right now! Blue Apron is an awesome service in which you can get a box of great meals sent directly to your house. All ingredients included in the box are completely 100% fresh. And you have the right amount of ingredients served just for you. No trips to the grocery store, no running out to your mom's place getting some sugar, none of that's happening right here. You can make all kind of crazy delicious meals, and what's cool is that they add new ones each and every week. Today we're gonna be making miso butter chicken with frikke, and sauteed carrots. We're gonna make that. I'm bad at cooking, let's go. If you're interested in trying out Blue Apron, be sure to check out your trial in the description below. Remember, the first 50 users that use that link in the description below get 3 meals free, and they'll ship anywhere, almost anywhere in the country. Check it out. Blue Apron, let's go. I'll see you in the battlefield of cooking. Yeah! Ah!
For all the things I've been roasting Uncharted 3 for being samey about, the reward system isn't really one of them, and I think Naughty Dog really went above and beyond in remastering this game for the Nathan Drake collection. See, originally, Uncharted 3 was a little rushed for two reasons. One, they decided on a release date way far in advance and had to cram it to hit in on time, and two, they were super focused on the multiplayer element and didn't have time to add anything to the single player experience besides what was absolutely necessary. All there is to do in this game is to get all the single player trophies as well as the few extra ones that come with the Nathan Drake collection, like Brutal and Doughnut Drake and the speedrun. But just for this game in the trilogy, they also basically grabbed all the cosmetic items and weapons from the multiplayer and added them as in-game rewards for unlocking specific trophies. None of the unlockables were that difficult to get, as I naturally unlocked them all just for finishing everything up. There's also the tweaks, which work kind of like the skulls from Halo and do fun things like enabling infinite ammo, or one-shot kills, or mirror mode. It's definitely stuff you'll do once or twice for the novelty, but just like the cosmetic rewards, none of it really changes up the gameplay enough to really feel worth it. Plus, you can totally tell that all of these things were ripped straight from the PS3 version and that not much time was taken into account with any of the models or anything. So in the end, on top of it not really being a treat, it kind of feels cheap sometimes too. Now, don't get me wrong, this will definitely extend your playtime if you're already having fun with the game you've just beaten and you want to play it more. And they didn't even have to include these extras at all if they didn't want to. But as far as being a worthwhile reward for the time you've put in, it's a little bit of a swing and a miss. But anyway, let's get to it. In my completionist playthrough of Uncharted 3, there were 59 trophies, 4 complete playthroughs, one of which was on brutal mode and another that was a speedrun Fat Doughnut Drake mode, 101 treasures out of 100, 81 unlockable costumes, 7 hackable tweaks to use, 1,045 deaths, 34,728 bullets fired, 41 hours and 25 minutes of total playtime, and 1 panic attack from when the time the game decides to delete itself. Holy shit, f*** you game. I definitely had fun with Uncharted 3. In fact, I think I had the most fun with this game out of the original trilogy. But I'm just not sure whether or not I kept having fun, you know? It's an important distinction to make, and it's kind of hard to explain. But overall, if you're brand new to having a PlayStation, it's definitely worth checking out. Uncharted 3 does everything so much better that Uncharted 1 and 2 do. But on the other side of the spectrum, I really feel that Uncharted 3 is the best of Uncharted 1 and 2 smashed together. While everything is awesome and all of the gameplay is evolved better and the graphics look great on the PS4 Pro and everything across the board is good and is better than the previous ones, this game just feels the same as the previous 2 games. That's not to slight it, it's just something that I felt throughout the entirety of the gameplay sessions that I had. The fact that multiplayer is removed from it obviously is a plus for me, but all the bonuses they added in regards to the skins, the weapons, and the manipulator tweaks that are in the game is a really cool thing that will provide an incentive for you to complete it. However, not all completionists will find that rewarding. So, with that in mind, guys, I give this game my completionist rating of finish it.
Finish it!
That's all the time we have for today, guys, so please, as always, let me know about today's episode somewhere on the internet. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button in the box below, as well as, if you missed last week's video, give it a clickety-clack right there, too. A big thank you to our sponsor, Blue Apron. If you want to get involved with that, check out the link in the description below, and don't forget that Nintendo Switch giveaway is happening until April 8th when we announce the winner. That's it, that's all, guys. We'll see you next week, and, yeah, I guess I'll see you next time. Bye!